Happy, what day are we on? Groundhog Day. Wednesday. Today, I'm Madison. Well, I guess each day I'm Madison, but I'm Madison today. I'm going live to talk about nutrition and particularly anti-inflammatory nutrition and how it relates to our physical health. So, like I said, my name is Madison. I'm the founder of Health by Ratio. We are an online group of licensed physical therapists, corrective exercise specialists, nutritional coaches, functional health coaches, and my team and I work, like I said, all online with our clients on helping them rehabilitate and recondition their bodies away from chronic pains and injuries and get them moving back to full range of stable motion. And the whole purpose of what we do is teaching the people we work with on how they can be self-empowered over their own health, so that they understand what techniques they should be doing and what techniques they shouldn't be doing, how they should be exercising versus how they shouldn't, as well as nutritionally, how we should versus shouldn't be eating. And that's a really complicated topic. And so a lot of us think of nutrition obviously in terms of weight gain. And that's, I think, how most of us think that nutrition really impacts our physical health. Like, obviously we know that can impact us on a number of other ways with regards to diseases and things and our immune system and all that kind of stuff. But we think of it as weight gain. And we think of it as like, if I have too many pounds on me, that's going to make me be in chronic pains and injuries. And there's some truth to that. If you're significantly overweight because we're not eating the right way, and that's causing our joints to have to load a lot more extra weight in general, then yes, that can absolutely be a contributing factor to just simple, like, don't eat well, we have too much weight on us, and that's going to cause our body to hurt. But that's not the simplicity of it. That's not the whole picture. There's more to it than that. And that's what I want to talk about today, because I have worked with hundreds of clients that I think they would all designate themselves that they would consider themselves overweight, and they still were able to get completely functionally healthy. And they didn't lose tons of weight in that process because that wasn't part of their goal. Their goal was to rehabilitate an injury so that they could get to a place where they could be physically fit so that they could lose the weight that they actually wanted to. So we were kind of the first step in their journey toward getting toward their fitness and health goals kind of thing. So with that, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to first lose the weight for your body to get functionally healthy. That's actually not true. Your body can be... You can be a plus 300 pound person and have a very sound kinetic chain, be balanced in a lot of ways, and that way you can actually support your body positions with the way your body's stability is. So weight gain, it does have a factor in it, and so that's where we do have to consider nutrition a little bit. But for the most part, that's more of your body's physical alignment can determine what it can withstand with regards to how much weight's actually on it. Now, what's more of an impact for us is two things. One, it's the right nutrients that we're giving to our body to be able to heal, right? So when we get hurt, when we get injured, when we have a tweak or a setback and we have some type of damage to our tissue, we obviously need that area to heal. We need the nutrients to that area to repair the damaged tissue and get us back on our feet. So the right nutrients for our body to heal, that's a huge factor. That's a big deal. And then the second thing is, we want to make sure that we're also not inflaming ourselves from the inside out. If we're already dealing with chronic pains and injuries because maybe we're dealing with imbalances, maybe we feel like we have some serious tightnesses, or we're always in bad postural positions, or we feel out of balance since recovering from an injury or something along those lines, like those aspects, we basically, with those imbalances, we can consistently cause little micro traumas day in and day out, whether it's every time we sit down and stand up 100 times a day, or it's how we're walking, or it's how we run, or it's how we have these little micro traumas that cause inflammation. Well, then the last thing that we want to do is then can perpetuate that inflammation level even more so with inflaming our gut, with giving ourselves nutrients that aren't conducive for us. And so that chronic inflammation is actually much more of an impact, and that's what we work with our clients a ton of. Now, the benefit is, if you stop eating foods that inflame you on a consistent basis, then you're also probably going to get a lot of great steps, make a lot of great steps toward your weight goals and your fitness goals and all that kind of stuff too. It's all interconnected. But on the physical side, let's actually talk about this. So most of us understand we're supposed supposed to, quote unquote, eat healthy. And many times when I'm working with clients, the first thing they say is like, I try to eat really healthy, I do my best, and I just don't know what's going on. And that's because many of us don't really understand that just because something is quote unquote healthy doesn't mean it's unlimited. That's a big issue, because any food, anything you eat, anything you drink, everything has a consequence to it. And if you drink or eat too much of it, then you're going to have some issues. You're like, you eat too much spinach, that's going to inflame you. You drink too much water, that's going to mess you up. You eat too much animal protein, that's going to hurt you. You eat too many beans, that's going to hurt you. Like anything over a certain amount for every individual is going to hurt us, and it's going to cause inflammation. So what we need to understand are, what are the foods that inflame us? And it's not to say that all foods that inflame us we can't eat. That's actually not the case. A little bit of inflammation is good. A little bit of inflammation is actually what makes us stronger, what gets us healthier. Think about working out. When you are doing a bunch of push-ups, or you're doing a bunch of squats, or you're having like a brutal workout kind of thing, that's creating inflammation. But you're doing it on purpose. You're breaking down this tissue so that in the coming days it grows back a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, and you're getting yourself a little bit healthier the way that you want. So that's part of like, that's a good thing. Now, if you do push-ups every single day and get yourself miserably sore, and then you do it the next day and the next day and the next day, and you're always causing yourself to be broken down even more and more, well, then that's too much. We're gonna hurt ourselves if we always are going and we never give ourselves a break for our bodies to repair. Well, the same thing goes for our gut. So it's not bad, unless you have celiac disease, and that's a different thing, but it's not bad to have some gluten. It's going to cause a little bit of inflammation in the gut, and it's going to throw us off. Now, to what level you can tolerate gluten, like I might be able to have a little bit more than another individual, or someone else might be able to tolerate a little bit more than I can. What degrees of how much you should have depends on each person. But ultimately, having a little bit and getting a little bit of inflammation and letting your body then respond to it and adapt to it and get a little bit stronger, a little bit healthier from the repairing process afterwards is great. Having a whole chocolate cake to ourselves, that's probably a little bit overkill. Or having gluten every single day of the week is probably a bit overkill. So what are the foods that we might want to be a bit cognizant of in terms of eating several servings at once, and as well as eating day in, day out without ever giving ourselves a break? Well, there's kind of some big common groupings of foods that you might want to be cognizant of. And now, some people, like I said, some of these categories you're going to be able to tolerate a little bit more than others. Some of them you're going to be able to tolerate a little bit less than others. You got to pay attention to how your body responds to it. Things like your energy levels, things like your, how alert you are, that brain fog that you feel sometimes starting off the day, or that you feel by the end of the day. That has to do with what you're eating and what you're drinking, and it also has to do with how you sleep and how you move and that kind of stuff too. But eating and your nutrition is a huge, huge factor in this. So if you consistently are feeling brain fog throughout the day, then that's probably a good indication that whatever you're eating is inflaming you a little bit too much. Things like your bowel movements, how solid they are versus how like liquid or runny they are, and how consistent they are. That's a big deal. Things like your actual feeling of your gut. After you finish your meal or your snack or whatever you ate, do you feel full? Do you feel normal? Do you feel like you have some good energy and you're able to get on with your day? Or do you feel like you just ate a cinder block and you have this big pile of freaking cement in the belly and it feels like everything's stuck out here? Well, that's an indication that you inflamed yourself a little bit. So those are markers that we want to look for. And if we feel those once in a while, that's not the end of the world. But if we feel those day in and day out, that is indicative of chronic inflammation, and specifically chronic inflammation due to the foods that we're eating. So what are these classifications? What are the foods that we actually might want to be wary of that are inflaming us, versus what are the foods that often are in normal quantities are pretty safe for most people? Well, the ones that we want to be cognizant of is first and foremost processed foods. Period. So like really any processed food of any kind that's going to inflame us. There's too much. I'm not going to swear. Too much stuff in that is harmful for you. So processed foods in a nutshell, those are things that you want to obviously stay away from. I think that's kind of a given for most of us. We know that when we look at the back of a package or a drink and we see a million ingredients on that, the chances that that's like natural and healthy, probably slim to none. So let's check that off our list. But now, what about the other classifications of food? Well, one of the big ones that I key in on with our clients with is looking at nightshades. And the reason why I point out nightshades is not because they're evil, not because you shouldn't have them, but it's because we eat them like crazy in North America because they come from here. So it's easy to grow. So our squash family, our tomatoes, our peppers, our eggplants, like those kinds of like zucchini. How many of us eat zucchini like every day? Like these things are abundant in our around our culture and around our most of our grocery stores. So and they're ripe all the time, or they're abundant year round. So we eat a lot of them, and those things aren't bad for you, but they are not vegetables. And most of them think, I eat tons of vegetables. I'm eating my zucchini. I'm eating my squash. I love tomatoes. I throw them on everything. I love my bell peppers. I make that, my go-to is tomatoes, bell peppers with some onions and maybe some mushrooms. Well, awesome. The only thing that you had in there that was a vegetable was the onion. Everything else was a fruit. And not to say that fruit's bad for you, but fruit inflames you differently than how vegetables do. So don't necessarily think that you're getting in your servings of vegetables by eating nightshades. And most of us think that that's what we're doing, and we actually eat very, very, very little true vegetables. We might have a little spinach, might have a little broccoli, might have a little bit of asparagus, might have a little bit of some other cruciferous vegetables, some cauliflower, that kind of thing. But it's normally an abundance of nightshades that go along with it. So not to say that nightshades are bad. And for many of us, they have some great nutrients. Now, some don't process, like some people don't process bell peppers at all. Like my wife, certain bell peppers, they do not react well with her. She gets heartburn, throws her off, and all kinds of stuff. So we got to be cognizant of that. Some people can't handle tomatoes. It'll wreck their gut. It just depends on the person. But assuming it's something that settles with you okay, or well, it's great to have those. Just don't have them every day. That's not your main vegetable 7 days a week or even 5 days a week. You want to have it once or twice throughout the week and incorporate it in and then go from there. So that's first thing, is nightshades are not necessarily a vegetable. They're technically a fruit. Anything that has seeds, guys, it's a fruit, if you guys weren't aware of that. So it's not a vegetable. Don't think that you're getting in your servings of vegetables there. And don't think about eating those things every single day. That can mess you up. Give yourself a break every once in a while from nightshades. Let your gut repair itself and use that kind of, like, you treat it like a workout. Give yourself a little bit of those tomatoes and bell peppers and all that good stuff. Then give it a couple of days to rest and recover. Then incorporate it back in. Get a little bit of ebbs and flows, gives and takes on this. All right, next category of food that inflames us in a big way is our quality of protein. That's a big deal. Now, and also quantity of protein for that matter. Like protein is great for us. We need it. It's part of the things, like those amino acids that break down from protein is what allows our body to heal. That's what actually gets our joints and our injuries to repair. We need those amino acids. They're really important. And too much of a good thing can turn into a bad thing. We are not carnivores. We weren't designed to eat protein day in, day out, three meals a day and several servings a day. We were designed to eat protein in conjunction with a bunch of plant foods and a whole variety of plant foods. So protein is great. We just don't need stupid amounts of it, in a nutshell. Having a serving or two a day, that's good. It's also good to give yourself a break every once in a while. For instance, yesterday, that was our meatless day. My wife and I, we didn't have any quote-unquote animal protein. We had just plant foods all day. We gave our bodies a little bit of a break. We only do that once or twice a week. The rest of the days, we're having our 1 to 2 servings of protein, and we want those great nutrients. The second thing, though, with protein is it's the quality of the protein, because that's a big deal. So you are not only what you eat, because you are also whatever you ate, also ate. So whatever you ate, that is part of your body. So for instance, simple example is cattle. Cattle were not designed to eat corn and soy, but most farm-raised cattle eat corn and soy as one of their main sources of food. And that messes with them. They were designed to graze. They were grass-fed. That's why everything is going toward grass-fed. And so when they're eating corn and soy over grass, it's wrecking their system. It's causing them chronic inflammation. It hurts them. It's messing their bodies up. That's why hormones and antibiotics and those kinds of things are so prevalent in and around our farming, because those cattle need that to stay alive when we're feeding them stuff that's not supposed to be on their menu. And that messes with their biology. And then we eat that meat later, and that doesn't sit well with us. So a really interesting study, this was from, I believe I read this in Mark Hyman's Food the Book, What the Heck Should I Eat? And if you guys want to dive deeper onto that topic, I think Mark Hyman's book from a couple years back is a great summation of a lot of great do's and don'ts and great protocols on what you can do to get your body in a healthier place. But he talks about some research on fish, and when we get farm-raised fish versus wild-caught fish. Farm-raised fish, again, they often are fed corn and soy. Fish weren't designed to eat corn and soy. By the way, those are grains. For those of you thinking that that's a vegetable, that's a grain and legume. So the corn and soy, that wasn't for them. They were supposed to eat like algae, plankton, other fish, that kind of thing. So normally, a wild-caught fish has an abundance of omega-3 fats. Omega-3 fats are essentially associated as the anti-inflammatory fats. They're good for us. We need those. And fish is a great source for that. Except when they're eating corn and soy, which corn and soy is an abundance of omega-6 fats. Those are the inflammatory fats. The whole biology of the fish changes, where you can get it completely skewed back, where instead of it being like an abundance of omega-3 fat ratio of, say, like an 8, 9, or a 10 to 1 to omega-6, or even not having any at all, now all of a sudden we start seeing way more omega-6 fats than omega-3. I believe in that same study they talked about cattle, or in general, like a grass-fed cattle, that's kind of the perfect balance. It has one part omega-3 to 1 part omega-6 in general. There's a little bit of some differences in that, but that's the general kind of balance, and that's what we need. So we do need some omega-6, and we do need some omega-3. We don't need all of either. But when a cattle eats a bunch of corn and soy, that ratio can get as high as like 16 to 1. And so 16 parts omega-6, 1 part omega-3, instead of 1 to 1. That's a big difference. So we're getting a heck of a lot more inflammatory fats from poor quality sources of protein. So a recommendation is try to eat, we don't need protein every single meal. So we can save our money on that a little bit. Instead, go for quality, not quantity. Get yourself grass-fed, pasture-raised, wild-caught. Those are the 3 things that you're looking for. That's going to give you the best quality of protein. So that's part number 2. The next thing is just our simple balance of our fruit to vegetable ratio. So this is kind of piggybacking off the nightshades, but more of a broader concept, is that fruit is great for us. And there's amazing things, especially when you're getting it in season, and ideally, obviously, organic. There's some exceptions to that. Like, it's really good to just take a look at the list of what are the top foods that you want to avoid due to pesticides that they're used, so get them organic, versus what are the ones that you don't necessarily need to focus on organic, because the way they spray them and stuff like that, it doesn't get absorbed. Take a look at that. But in general, when in doubt, organic is technically better. But with regards to fruits, they're great for us. But fruit every single day also inflames us. Sugar, raising our blood sugar, that creates an inflammation response. Some sugar is good for us, especially healthy sugar. But having sugar every single day, even if it's healthy sugar, starts messing with us. So fruit can be great, but give yourself a break from it every once in a while. We need to let our pancreas reset. We don't need to always be raising the blood sugar up all the time. That also coincides with grains and legumes and beans. Like, those things, they're great. They have amazing fiber in them. They should be incorporated in almost everyone's diet in some way, shape, or form, in some quantity or another, and it depends on each individual. But we don't need them every single day, and we don't need several servings every single day. So we want to be able to give ourselves breaks and let our body reset and heal itself. And then I would say kind of the last thing is that we don't get enough healthy fats. That this is kind of going along the lines of what we eat. We are what we eat and what they ate. It's going along with that, where we could have an out of balance omega-3 to omega-6 fats. Well, that's also in the cooking oils that we use. Like when you're using or buying foods that are made with canola oil or soybean oil or some of our seed oils that are those vegetable oils that are very high in omega-6 and very inflammatory and very unstable in heat, those things create massive inflammatory responses. They actually penetrate the blood-brain barrier. That blood-brain barrier, that's where you're going to get that brain fog showing up. So all of these things are a big factor with regards to inflammatory markers versus having the more of a balance, a healthier balance of omega-3 fats, because many of us are low in that. So that is our fish. That is our even having like a supplement like a krill oil or a wild-caught fish oil. That's getting our flax seeds out. And we want to have those healthy fats. And other healthy fat sources can be obviously nuts and obviously like actually whole seeds, not just having your seed oils. That I would stay away from those in general. But also having things like avocados and grass-fed butter and ghee, using things like olive oil and a good quality avocado oil, coconut oil, like those things. We need that. Now, do we need 19 servings of healthy fats a day? No, that would be overkill. So a lot of people that go toward the ketogenic diet, which I think can be great for a lot of people, they go overboard and now all of a sudden they're eating insane quantities of fat. Well, just like anything, too much of anything isn't healthy for you. We already talked about spinach. We all think of spinach, Popeye, as one of the healthiest things ever, but you can eat too much of that, especially raw spinach. So there's a balance to everything. So we want a few good servings of healthy fat every day. We don't need to go much beyond that. But we want these balances. We need to take the kind of the ratio of what we're eating into consideration. So we went through processed foods, we went through the quality proteins, we went through not eating like the nightshades, we went over not eating over an abundance of fruits every day, all the time, and we talked about how legumes and some of our starchy vegetables and stuff like that, starchy plant foods, I should say, not vegetables, starchy plant foods can be really healthy for us, give us great fiber and all that kind of stuff. But they also come at a cost. They also inflame us. They raise our blood sugars up in a controlled way to a certain extent. And you hear my dogs come in and say hi. So anyway, these things are all inflammatory toward us. But in smaller quantities and controlled quantities, this is good inflammation. We just don't want to have it be every day, day in, day out. So what I propose is give yourself a balance. Let yourself have days where you reset, days where you abstain from the classic inflammatory foods. Like vegetables in general are fairly safe. Healthy fats in general are fairly safe. High quality proteins are fairly safe. These things don't inflame you a ton. As long as you're like proteins, obviously don't eat multiple servings of that kind of thing, but 1 or 2 servings is good. So those things are fairly safe. Have days where that's all you eat. Have days where you're focusing on those high quality proteins and healthy vegetables and healthy fats. And then abstain from everything else. Give yourself a break from that stuff. Then also have days your week where you incorporate the things that we love. Incorporate some of those nightshades. Incorporate some of those healthy starches like our rices and our potatoes and all that good stuff. Our quinoas and farro and all that kind of stuff. We want those things. That's great. And we want to be able to enjoy fruit. We want to be able to enjoy our beans and legumes and all that good stuff. All great nutrients, just not every day and not having several gajillion servings of all of it every day. So that balance goes a long way. So just an example, this is what I found works for me. This doesn't mean it's going to work for you because everyone is different. So you're going to have to test what works best for you. But for me, the balance that I found, and this is also different than how my wife eats, who just ran into the house and came out. The things that I do is typically Monday through Thursday on an average week. Those are the days that I try to eat strictly vegetables and true vegetables. I try to stay away from nightshades on those days. I try to give my body a break from those quote-unquote fruit vegetables. I try to stay away from the fungi, mushrooms, and I try to stay away from from fruits and that kind of stuff, and grains and all that good stuff. And I eat healthy fats, and I eat healthy protein. With the exception, I already told you guys, 1 day a week I try to skip protein. That's for me a great balance, Monday through Thursday. Then Friday through Saturday, or Friday through Sunday, Friday through Sunday is when I let my hair down a little bit. But I still eat good stuff, but I let myself get more of a balance. I want to have all those healthy starches. I want to have those healthy beans and healthy legumes. I just try to still incorporate, prioritizing at least a few servings of vegetables, at least a couple servings of healthy fats. Still sticking with high quality protein on those days. I just incorporate, instead of having like on my Monday through Thursday days, I may literally have over a dozen servings of vegetables on those days. I'm also a larger than average human being that also tends to be much more active than the average human being. So that's not necessarily recommended for everybody. But I may have over a dozen servings on those vegetables on those 4 days, and have several servings of healthy fats, and like I said, a serving or two of protein. And then on my Friday, Saturday, Sunday, then I'm not having a dozen servings of vegetables again. I might be having 5, and then I'm incorporating some fruit, and I'm incorporating some nightshades, and I'm incorporating my beans and my starches and all that kind of stuff. So I'm filling up on other things as well. So that has become a really healthy balance for me. So I allow myself to essentially go into a very controlled ketosis for 4 days of the week. And then the other days of the week, I'm allowing myself to rebuild my glycogen storages. I'm allowing myself to rebuild my fiber in my gut and all that kind of good stuff. So that's a balance that's worked well for me. It doesn't work for everybody. I hope that some of these recommendations can help you kind of tweak your diet and give you some ideas on, oh, you know what, I didn't realize I eat zucchini every single day. I never really take a break from it. Or, oh my gosh, I don't really have much of a variety. I'm always eating spinach all the time. So even there, that's again, like if that's the only vegetable or one of like 6 vegetables that you're always eating, it's just these same staples over and over and over again, well, change it up. Give your body a variety. Give it some variety of nutrients, and it goes a long way. And giving yourself those few days to break from always having chronic inflammation allows you to heal much faster, and give your body time to reset and adjust, just like it would if you were working out and you're taking your rest days afterwards. So outside of that, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this talk on anti-inflammatory nutrition. Hopefully you got some of your wheels spinning on looking at some of your own nutrition and what you're doing and how you might be able to tweak it a little bit. And then outside of that, I hope you have a great rest of your evening, and I will look forward to doing another Facebook Live next week, and Instagram Live for that matter next week as well. So if you guys have any questions or topics that you want us to cover, please let us know. Comment below this. Feel free to send us a direct message. This topic came from people emailing us from our newsletter, as well as a couple of our clients that consistently bring this up on our calls. So that inspired today's topic. So give us that feedback. That's what dictates what we like to give you, is we want to give you guys great content in general. And then, like I said before, if you guys ever want some one-on-one help with your body in terms of its alignment and how to correct itself, and even beyond that, with like our nutrition and working through those plans, but even still, just some consultations on how your body's moving, how it's stabilizing, and how to correct it, and how you can do it from home, then please feel free to book and schedule a consultation call with us. My team and I will connect with you over the phone. We'll try to understand what your body's been through. We'll ask you what direction you want to go toward, and then if it's appropriate, we'll set you up with a video assessment where we'll actually go through your functional movement patterns to see, are there imbalances in your kinetic chain that are contributing to these chronic pains and injuries that you're dealing with. And then obviously we can go over a holistic approach to how to get healthy, not only on the physical side, but also on the nutritional side and the mental emotional side. That's a component that we didn't talk about today, but is very, very important nonetheless. So we'll post a link to our calendar in the after on this, so you can check that out. But otherwise, guys, so we'll see you guys next week. Have a great rest of your week and weekend.